Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and to this new video. Today we are going to mention and talk about something that was common. It was a fad between the 1920s and 1930s. So it lasted for a while, even though extremely dangerous, you'll understand. And it was very popular, very common and very popular, spread in the UK and in the US at the same time. And you'll never guess what that is, so let me say it. Deaf flights. Okay. So it was the decade where flights and aviation was becoming more and more popular. Short trips and slightly longer trips were made on the plane by using the plane. And another activity came up just in connection to flights, and that was known or became known with the term of deaf flights. So there were some people also coming from the First World War, some people that have that were experiencing some what we might think today to be post-traumatic stress disorder, or anyway psychosomatic symptoms. And some people during the war especially had lost their hearing skills, right? Had lost their hearing, and so they became deaf. Now, sometimes you would become deaf because of a real accident happened, for instance, in war. Other times, the stress and the traumatic experience that is going at war could cause you to experience, for instance, a loss of hearing. Now, what happened was that some doctors, specifically there's one we need to mention here, Dr. McCartney. Some doctors, and specifically McCartney, who became the most popular doctor doing that, prescribed flights. How can a flight help somebody who has lost their hearing? I actually do not know and do not understand that concept, but the idea was, let's try. Worse than this, nothing can happen. And so they tried. And some people, just like a miracle, recovered their hearing skills. Others recovered their hearing, but just for a short period of time, like for instance a month. Other people died. So for instance, there was a trip on a flight, and so during this flight there were like two musicians. One of them was particularly worried that he was going to lose its hearing, that he decided to try this flight, and then that ended up unfortunately in a tragedy, because sometimes, being that aviation was not as safe as it is today, and even today there are crashes, but being that at the time it wasn't particularly safe, the plane crashed, and so everybody on board died. That wasn't the only accident that happened. Many accidents like that happened. Not enough for this activity to stop, probably at a decent point in time. As it often happens, those activities, they have to be stopped by, unfortunately, what it is, a bunch of tragedies, not just one. But anyway, deaf flights. And deaf flights weren't just flights, like they weren't normal flights. The pilot was allegedly doing some acrobacies up in the air. The idea was to scare to death when the possibility of dying was not enough, of course. The idea was to scare to death the passenger or passengers, right? So there were acrobacies, but also one thing that I do not know if that was a constant thing of the flights or if that just happened sometimes, but one thing that you being the deaf person was supposed to do on this flight was to jump. Yes. You would jump from the plane and go to another plane. And the other plane was like, one was above, one was below. And one plane was above and one was below. So they were in this kind of position, and you would make a jump. And then if you fail, of course, there was death then at that point. And it's amazing how they didn't stop and they carried on for so many years. It lasted literally 10 years. Some of them, as I was saying, recovered the hearing just for some time. Some never did. Some they did, you know, which is amazing. Probably it's the, you know, conviction that they had that this would solve that problem, right? And at the time there was no acoustic implant that you could get to recover your hearing. So it's amazing because one person can live without hearing, you know, necessarily. You could start expressing yourself in different terms, and you can, you know, read lips and understand people talking like that. But so it's not, among the many impairments one can have, it's not the worst one that you are completely isolated if you're completely deaf, right? So, but let's think about that. People were willing to experiment on this just for the sake of recovering their hearing, which I probably would not have ever done, but that was the idea, that was the plan. So for some people it was successful, for others it wasn't. Among the pilots that were involved in this activity, there was also Lindbergh, that we should remember. And it would take something like $50. This is like speculation and where capitalism, you know, gets into every sort of business. He would get up to $50, something like 700 euros of today to do this. Just okay, whatever. So guys, so that is it, right? So now it's your turn to express your ideas. So don't forget to sound off below in the comment section, and we'll talk some more next time. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk next time. Bye!